Streaming services are breathing new life into some classic TV sitcoms. One that became an instant sensation when it debuted several months ago was Sister Sister. In fact, it was top 3 on Netflix when it did debut, and it's a show that originally aired more than 20 years ago. It was also one of those shows that instantly put twins Tia and Tamara Mowry on the map to stardom. Who you don't see, though, is the person behind it all. His name is Kim Bass, and his story is just as impressive as the shows and films he's created. As we observe Black History Month, we wanted to give you a behind-the-scenes look at Kim's amazing journey from small-town boy in upstate New York to award-winning writer, producer, and director.
What's up, what's up? What's up, what's up, what's up?
From a show he created about his relationship with his childhood best friend.
Dad? Mom? That girl has my face!
To Sister Sister.
You know, I based the show on my twin sisters.
How does it feel when you see a reboot of one of your shows you created, like Sister Sister, do so well on Netflix?
It was very heartwarming to think that the show is timeless, that there's a new audience for the show, and then, you know, it was a nostalgic show for a lot of people, and some people said, hey, you know, we can watch this now with our children.
Kim Bass has a lifetime of stories he's developed in Hollywood, many based on his own life growing up in upstate New York.
We started out like a lot of people in America. We had our struggles, but imagine, you know, there were 6 children in a 1-bedroom apartment.
But Kim had big dreams. He wanted to fly, become an astronaut, and vividly remembered the day a teacher crushed that dream.
Our assignment was to choose a book that would relate to what you wanted to be when you grew up. And the teacher looked at me and looked at the book, and she said, oh no, you have to put that book back. She said, little colored boys can't grow up to be astronauts. And I had to go and put the book back on the shelf. She told me, you could be a plumber or something like that, but not an astronaut. And so that left a mark, I have to say. It left a mark.
It also marked a shift in Kim's dreams. He was just 7 years old when his grandpa took him to a movie theater for the first time.
I still remember the film. It was The Miracle of the White Stallions. It was a Disney picture, 1963. I just thought it was wonderful. When I got home that night, I said, Mom, who makes movies? And she told me there's a place far away called Hollywood, and the people there make movies. And I said, well, I think they're the magic people. And when I grow up, I'm gonna be one of the magic people.
But even Kim's story in Road to Hollywood had a plot twist. After college, he ended up teaching English in Japan, where he studied martial arts. One day, he met a talent agent who got him an audition for what was at the time one of the most watched primetime Japanese television shows.
I got the role, and next thing you know, I was booked from one show to another show, to movies, to stage plays. But I had just finished doing a movie with Jackie Chan called The Protector. And I'm thinking, I'm here in Japan, but my family, no one sees anything that I'm doing. And I just had this burning desire. And so right when there were sort of lots of offers starting to come in to do things in Japan, I just decided, you know what, I'm going to Hollywood.
So Kim moved to Hollywood with no job and no idea where to even begin.
I literally bought a book, Sid Field's book on screenplay writing. Read that one night. The next day I jumped up, I ran over to a nearby Kmart. I bought a stack of legal yellow pads, a box of pencils, and I started writing a screenplay.
6 months after he started writing and draining his entire savings, Kim finished the script and finally got it to an independent producer.
I still remember I went to the ATM and I only had $19.67 left in the bank. And when you don't have a minimum of $20 in the bank, you can't withdraw any money. And so I spent that weekend with no money and no food. And I spent the weekend thinking, what am I going to do? Am I going to have to give up my dream? Am I going to have to humble myself, maybe ask my father for a plane ticket or even a bus ticket back to New York? And then Monday morning, my phone rings and the producer says, read your screenplay over the weekend. I'd like to make a deal.
That screenplay was titled Popsicle Soldiers and ultimately never got made, but it was optioned 3 different times, once by a major studio, and the payday kept his dream alive.
I negotiated my own deal and ended up walking there with a check. And I didn't even go to my bank. I went to their bank cashed the check, and I had all this cash.
Oh.
And then I drove to my bank and deposited it.
Yeah.
And that's how I started writing. And I have never had another job other than writing or directing since that day.
What do you hope your legacy will be?
That's a tough question. I wouldn't tie my legacy to what I'm doing. I would want my legacy to be about how I lived. So for me, I would like people who know me once I'm gone to think, when he was here, he learned, he listened, he loved, and did more good than harm.